This episode of Places She Shapes is sponsored by JAC Project Management. How do you keep rising when every step forward comes with another challenge? Trish Watson built a business, lost it when the crash hit, and then built again. Today, she's managing director at Thirdway Interiors, leading teams that design some of London's most dynamic workplaces. But the road here has been anything but straightforward. In this episode, Trish shares the sliding door moments, the battles she's fought, the ups and downs of being a trampolinist, how she kept bouncing back, and the resilience it takes to carve out your own place in an industry that doesn't always welcome you. This is Trish's story, and it shows why sometimes the only way forward is the one you create yourself.
Ready? Okay, let's take it from the top. Trish, hi, welcome to Places She Shapes at Abbey Road Studios. Thanks for being here.
No, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Trish, you're managing director at Thirdway Interiors. Can you tell me what that means?
What does that mean? That means I run a team of really talented people who are all focused on designing and building great offices for our clients.
How big is your team?
The team is 28, so it's quite a big team made up of designers, technical, commercial, project managers. So all the disciplines that you'd expect are in that one team.
Do you like the leadership aspect of the role?
I do like the leadership aspect, but I would say it's the most difficult part of the role. We, as a company, we do our colours quite a bit. I don't know if you know what that means. So understanding personality types and knowing how we all deal with each other in the best possible way. So quite a lot of the time, I sort of go, I'm in red mode. And, we all laugh and it sort of breaks the atmosphere.
Are you a red?
I'm a red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. It's
just for people that don't understand the colours, can you just explain it briefly?
Yeah. So basically, we do a little bit of analysis around personality types. There's a sort of questionnaire and it goes into quite a lot of depth. And then that spills out a load of information that we then put you into your colours. And there's 4 colours. It's just the red, green, yellow, blues. So the red sort of can be, everyone has good and bad to their personalities. So red are very good at leading people. They're very direct. They get things done. They're good. Some of the good aspects, or some of the bad aspects of being red is that you can be very impatient. You can sort of roughshod over people a little bit and speak over people. So understand. And so if I just go to sort of yellows, which want to be crowd pleasers, they want to bring the atmosphere, which is really, really positive. But on the sort of negative side, if we can say it's negative, is they can sort of lose concentration a bit, go off on tangents, always be the class clown when it's not always appropriate. And then the green are the people pleasers and the blue are the very detailed people. And actually you can see it in the different disciplines in the teams. A lot of the sales people, the project directors, they sort of tend to be yellow and reds, and then the commercial guys tend to be that green, blue. So you can actually see people fitting into their colours. Yeah. But it really does break the atmosphere if there's any ever tension in the team, just knowing, when someone's gone into maybe a slightly negative path of their colour. But it's good fun, and it's good fun when we do it. We take a whole day out of the office, so it's really great.
How often do you do that, with new starters or with everybody?
We do it once a year.
Do you?
Yes, we reset in the summer and we'll go off and do some training, and we just make it into a big team building day. We get someone to host it who's very good, very funny, and we all sort of get put into sometimes difficult scenarios during the day and see how we all react. So there's a lot of laughing.
Do you ever use the colours for your talking when you're referring to how to deal with a client?
Yes, quite a lot. So quite a lot of our clients tend to be red as well, because most of the time we're speaking to sort of quite senior people or the owners of the business. So it's understanding, like, we don't profile them completely.
No,
but we do
take a snapshot and go.
We do, and if someone's been difficult in a meeting, because we all have difficult meetings every now and again, we can take it away that that's him going red, and you know, he was expecting something else, and we know that maybe we didn't communicate very well. So we don't always do a post-mortem after every meeting, but I think it makes some other members of the team who might be yellow and find it quite difficult to take that sort of very direct approach from someone. It makes them understand why they're acting how they're acting, basically. Sometimes when we're pitching, we do profile our clients. So we try and understand who the client is, and what they want to hear by profiling them as well. So, for example, you know, if there's a CFO in the room, we know typically they tend to be blue, quite into the detail, quite into the numbers. So when we're talking about numbers, we know to direct it to that person in the room. So we try and, when we're rehearsing for our pitching, like talk to these people in different ways.
Yeah,
fascinating.
fascinating.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating.
So I want to go back to Trish as a little girl. Can you tell me about her?
Yes. So I'm the youngest of 6 children. Yes. So I was sort of quite left to my own devices, I think. You know, I think, you know, my mum had been through it quite a number of times, and, you know, I think you get more and more relaxed the more children that you have. So I had quite a lot of independence, I think.
What's the age difference between you as the youngest and the oldest?
17 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there's quite a big age gap through the 6. And also I never got to watch what I wanted on TV. Because
Obviously.
there was one TV in the 70s, and there was only 3 channels anyway, pretty much. So I was quite creative. And also I was the generation that used to be able to play out and go out. So was always hopping on buses on my own or with a friend, probably around the age of 10 or 11. So there was a lot of freedom.
Where did you live?
So I grew up just outside the Elephant Castle, so in South London, very central. Very busy area, so you become quite streetwise, I think, quite young, again, because we were out and about, probably younger than people would be now, I expect. And also, when I think back, we always used to head to the West End. We'd be able to hop on a bus, and it was one of the old buses you used to be able to jump on off the back of, and head up west. And so always, you know, if we wanted to go to the park, we'd go to St James's Park, you know, and be outside Buckingham Palace. So I think it was quite inspirational without really realising it. And then as we got a little bit older, and, you know, Saturdays was the day to go shopping, and we were all really into our fashion, my friendship group. So we were always, you know, in Oxford Circus, in Topshop. I mean, I cried when they closed Topshop. I mean...
We all did.
Yeah, what a disaster. Anyway, it's back out there now, isn't it? But so, yeah, had a lot of freedom.
Yeah, great. And what did your parents do?
So my mum was a school dinner lady, and my dad was a decorator. So very working class background. But, you know, there was always a lot of support, and education was really important. And some of my older siblings who became almost parents as well, especially my sister. So she was really encouraging. You know, I was an avid reader, was always my head in a book. Used to sit in the airing cupboard because it was the warmest place with a torch and read.
And what were you reading?
I was reading lots of, I suppose, Enid Blyton at the time, lots of classics. I mean, my favourite book is Pride and Prejudice. I've probably read it at least 5 times, if not more, and watched, you know, the 6 hours of the Beeb, probably at least 10 times. So I was reading lots of classics, and it was, it took my mind elsewhere, and I think that was one of the other things that got me into loving the architecture of London. You know, reading about the big houses, and, you know, even now when I go into, you know, one of the great buildings in the centre of town, like if we're doing a project in a Grade 2 listed, what would have been a big townhouse, I'm always absolutely fascinated about how people lived. And I always think I would have probably been downstairs, but...
Sure you wouldn't. I'm sure you wouldn't.
But yeah, so it was great.
So I've learned that you grew up as a champion trampolinist. Can you tell me more?
Wow. I had a lot of energy, was always just doing sort of gymnastics exercises around the house and things. And eventually I joined a trampolining club, and I was probably about 11, and became part of the team. So we represented Lambeth, so we used to compete in the London Youth Games. I'm not sure if that's still going, but it's quite a big thing at the time. And we won that, and then got as part of the England squad and went out to Spain and Germany, and got to about 15 or 16 and sort of grew out of it. And
Yeah, oh, that's a shame.
yeah, it wasn't really the sport that it is now. So it's only been an Olympic sport, I think, I want to say for 4 years, maybe not this one, the previous Olympics.
2 or 3 maybe, yeah.
So it was quite niche at the time. But I ended up coaching the younger trampolinists, so were coming through, and really enjoyed that aspect of it as well.
What was it about that sport that you particularly enjoyed?
I think it was accessible for me at the time, and it just, it made you feel quite independent, because we used to do the circuit. So, we were always traveling around the UK and going to see different, cities. And so it gave me a real, well, probably my only experience of traveling around the whole of the UK at that time.
In a minibus?
In a minibus.
Yeah, glamorous.
And it had a Union Jack roof.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was white with a Union Jack roof, and it had our name of the club on the side. It was really cool. We had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs.
So at that time, in your sort of early teenage years, what did you think you were going to do for a living?
I can't really remember. There wasn't really a set path, but I did have this, I was thinking about this, and I do remember I suddenly remembered wanting to be a policewoman, which was a bit random, really. But I do remember it, but never really followed it up.
After school, what happened?
So after school, had went straight to work at 16. At the time, so it's mid-80s, I suppose. Only, I think, somewhere between 3 and 5% of people went to university. And generally, if you were sort of from a working class background, unless your school really pushed you, it wasn't really something you discussed, at the dinner table with your parents. I think the expectation was to get, really good O-levels at the time, so GCSEs today. And then if you were incredibly bright, maybe go and do some A-levels, but then go to work. So that was the expectation. But I did have a really cool art teacher who, when I had some cool, really good, he wasn't the only cool teacher, there's probably 2 or 3, but he was saying no, because I did O-level art and did quite well, and he said, look, I think we can get you into Caldwainers College, which is design college in Hackney, 2 years early. So he packaged up all my portfolio as it was at the time and sent it off, and I did get accepted, but I didn't go.
Why?
I don't know. I think I'd already got a job, and I thought, well, I'm working. But when I think back, I think I've always had this passion for design.
It was there.
It was there, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So what was your first job?
Well, my first proper job, I think, was being a really terrible legal secretary. At the time, a lot of the solicitors and law firms were around Fleet Street. And so I managed to get a job as a legal secretary. My typing was terrible. And I used to get shouted at quite a lot by some of the solicitors at the time. But the great thing about being probably the worst secretary in the pool that there was is that I used to get to cover reception at lunchtime. And the receptionist was super glamorous, very 80s style, big hair, big shoulder pads, just different outfits, lots of big jewellery of the time. And I was quite into fashion, and I just really always admired her. But the sort of one benefit of being in that role is that I got to know the senior partner really well, because it was the 80s and people used to lunch. So I was always on reception between 2 and 3 when he used to come back from lunch. So I got to know him quite well. And that's what led me into property.
Talk me through that link.
So they were mainly a property law firm, and he had a joint venture with another guy called Gordon, who set up his own investment company. And through that connection with David Rosling, who was the senior partner, I ended up being employee number one at that firm.
Amazing.
And
employed for your typing skills? Or?
No. My organisational skills are very good though, and he did employ another typist, which was great. But it was an investment company. They'd raised a load of money at the time, and they were out to spend the money that they'd raised, and they had a very clear idea of the type of property that they wanted to buy. And so I got involved on the, I suppose, marketing side, marketing the brand, making connections, and we were creating networks where when these properties came up for sale, that they would come to us first. So we were trying to be the port of call. So it all sounds a bit vague, but the company was called Fiscal, and it was very monetary driven real estate company. And there was a set of things we were looking for. So it had to be let to a certain type of occupier. It had to have a minimum of 10 years on an FRI lease, or these all sort of like property terms. So we had a very set criteria that we were looking for.
Okay.
And it was pre-internet.
Yeah.
And so we just had a phone. And we had a big map on the wall in the office, and every city in the UK that had more than, I think it was 500,000 people, actually might have been slightly less than that. I would say 250,000 people, because it was more cities. We had a pin in the map, and until we knew someone in that city, when we did know someone, we would take the pin out. And we ended up building 4,000 people on this list, and then we do these amazing mail shots.
So if you had a pin in the map and you're like, right, we need to
We
find
didn't know
something,
someone in that city.
How did you go about connecting the dots to get to somebody?
Several ways. We had the good old-fashioned telephone directories, and then we might go to that city. So if it was somewhere like Leeds, for example, we'd get the train, we'd walk out, see whose boards were up, who was letting properties. Obviously, there was always the sort of large corporates. So Jones Lang were around then. Richard Ellis, which then became CBRE. So you still had these sort of large companies that you could ring, but we wanted to know the 5-person business, the 10-person business, and you just had to put boots on the ground. So we did a lot of that. And then we used to do these amazing mail outs. So we'd get something printed, and 4,000 of them, put them in envelopes and send them out saying, this is what we're looking for. We got the money in the bank and we're ready to go. So we spent all the money quite quickly, and the company lasted 8 years. And in that time, we went from the 2 guys that founded it, plus myself, to about 16 people. We floated on the stock exchange, which was an amazing experience for me, because I did all the road shows as well. And then as soon as we floated, we got bought by a bigger PLC.
Wow.
So it was an amazing 8 years. So the whole of the 90s. Based in Mount Street as well, which
amazing.
Is heart of Mayfair. For me, is Mayfair.
Easy to spend your salary.
Well, at the time, we had 2 butchers, a huge post office.
Oh, okay. Not quite how it is today, then.
Scott's was still there, and a few restaurants, but not as chic as it is today, with all like the high-end fashion houses there.
So what did those early years teach you about networking and confidence?
Well, it was very male-dominated property at that point. But actually, it was a benefit for me. So I used to get exposed to lots of events and invited to lots of different conferences and things. And actually, being one of the only women in the room, I was probably say 5% of the people in the room were women, meant everyone remembered your name.
Yeah, true.
So it was a benefit, really. From a confidence point of view, I was probably more confident then, in a way, than I am now, because I think when you're young, and there was less pressure, I don't know, you just rocked it. Just thought, right, I'm rocking the room.
And how did you maintain that network? Because it's all very well, identifying these people and meeting them, but then the difficulty is then keeping across everybody, I guess.
Yeah, so going back to being very organised, we used to diary note everything. So, you would be writing in your diary in 3 weeks' time to call that person. And then, you might write down what his wife's name was, what his children was, what his dog was called, and, trying to build a relationship. So you were very organised because, again, it was all analogue.
Yeah.
And we had those Rotodecks. Do you remember those? You're probably not as old as me, so.
I am.
But, those Rotodecks cards.
Yeah.
And we used to use just things like that. Just
to be like, right, it's Dave's turn to be phoned today. His wife's called.
Yeah. And, we still used to get 2 lots of post. So the post used to arrive, used to open all the post, respond. And I'd like to say we worked all afternoon, but we used to lunch a lot and go to... there was wine bars like Fino's at the time where it was just everyone in the property market would go, especially Thursday, Friday. So you used to just head down there and just say, well, I'm just hanging out here until I see the right person that I need to see today.
Love it.
But it was funny because there was no mobile phones. So we did have mobile phones, but it didn't work in Fino's. It was a basement bar.
Perfect.
And my boss used to ring Fino's itself and say, is Trish in the room? Can you send her back to the office? So on occasion, it was like, you need to go back. I was like, oh, okay.
I used to work in a bar and a wife would always phone and say, is so-and-so there? And I look over and he'd go.
Yeah. I think sometimes I probably did try and find.
Have you got a sliding door moment that you can tell me about where one connection changed everything?
Well, so when Fiscal was sold, it was a really big thing because it'd been my informative years in the workplace.
All your 20s?
Yeah, all my 20s.
Yeah.
So I was now sort of late 20s, 28, 29. And a friend of mine knew someone in the design and build industry. And I did have a vague idea of what that was because... Not that we used to refurbish the buildings that we used to buy overly, but we did every now and again have to do a reception or something. So I know there was this sort of industry, which was really still in its infancy and still in the early stages. And so they said, why don't you go and meet James? So I went and met James, and that was it.
Who was it that said that?
Who said that to me?
Yeah.
A guy called Robert who, he just said, look, go and see James, and I went to see him.
Okay, amazing. So you did a master's in property law and valuation. When was that, and why did you do that?
So when I was at the property company, Gordon was he was Rick's, so Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors at the time, and he said, I think you should go and qualify. But I only had my O-levels. So he ended up figuring out that I could become a postgrad. So I had a year's worth of math tutorage to get me to where I needed to be in maths.
Oh, goodness.
And he was Gordon was very supportive. So on a Friday, the maths tutor would come to the office and I'd have a whole day of maths lessons on a Friday. It was tough. And then managed to get on the postgrad degree and did the degree, which was one of the degrees that you could have to then go and do your RICS. But as I finished, the company was sold.
Right.
And I could have probably gone to, say, one of the companies, like one of the big 5 or something.
Maths tutor.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
So when I decided, yes, I was up for doing the degree, which was a bit scary at the time, my maths wasn't up to speed. So we ended up getting me a maths tutor. So I had this weekly lesson with a maths tutor on a Friday, which was quite tough, but it got me to where I needed to be and it got me on the course.
So was it kind of the equivalent of a maths A-level? Because that's...
Yeah, I mean, it was, at the time, it was like, it makes it sound so old, but they were still using a book called the Parry's Tables, which is this big, thick book of numbers where you could work out like the value and the ERV, and then it was just so it was a lot of just learning. But I'd had good sort of groundwork, so understood sort of how the property market worked, and so I had some sort of base. It was just get my maths up to speed, really, and thoroughly enjoyed the course and met lots of great people, and did that part time. So
still working.
So still working full time, and then. Yeah, just 6 hours a week of lectures, and you should have been doing 6 hours a week of, write it all up. But
and then did you go on and do your recs?
No, so that was when Physical Property was sold, so it all sort of timed, and then it sort of felt that I'd missed the moment, and going into maybe one of the bigger firms as a grad, it just felt a bit strange, and so I didn't even go down that route, and that's when I sort of moved across into design and build.
So who did you first work for in design and build?
So I worked for a company called TDA, and at the time it was a great business at the time. I'm not saying it isn't now, but it was a great business at the time, and James Lamb and Richard Taylor were the two guys that sort of owned and run the business, and it was a very fast learning curve, quick learning curve. Going from being a client to being on the other side, it was a bit of a shock.
So what position did you go in as?
I went in as an account manager, which was, you did everything. You did the sales, you wrote the scope of works, you costed it, you pitched it. So now that's probably 3 different roles in my team. But I suppose it gave me a good base knowledge of absolutely every role that's now in my team. Maybe outside the really sort of technical sort of services side of things. So, but it was really good fun. We had some great clients. We were based in the West End, which I knew very well. So it was a really good starting point. I was there for 4 years.
Yeah, wow. And where did you go after that?
So I got headhunted across to another company and went in as sort of head of sales there for a couple of years. And then moved on from there. That was very tough. When I was there, it was quite male dominated, and it wasn't as easy as it should have been.
Because you were in a sales role as a woman, do you think, or just generally?
This episode of Places She Shapes is sponsored by JAC Project Management. JAC have been delivering stunning offices, providing expert advice, honest leadership, and a can-do attitude since 1979. Project management, cost consultancy, and contract administration for office fit-out and relocation projects. JAC creates spaces where people and businesses can thrive. You can find out more at jac-group.co.uk.
It wasn't as easy as it should have been.
Because you were in a sales role as a woman, do you think, or just generally?
I think because when they recruited outside of ML for the role, there were people within the business that wanted to be in that position.
Okay.
And I actually had someone say to who would have been my boss that they didn't want to report to me because I was a woman. I mean, this is only 20 years ago, maybe slightly longer, 25 max. So it was just a different time. And, the senior person in that company thought that was acceptable. And at the time, I didn't think it was acceptable. So I moved on.
So how long were you there?
I was only there for about 18 months, I think.
Okay. And having learnt what you learnt from that experience, how did that inform your decision for your next role?
I think with all these things, it just sort of toughens you up.
Yeah.
It was just disappointing. I wouldn't say it was a hard knock. I'd grown up with 3 brothers. I'm used to being around men, and, it's already said being in a very male-dominated property environment during the 90s. So it was just disappointing, really. Yeah, it didn't really make me someone to do anything differently. I just thought, you don't deserve me if that's how you think you can behave.
So you moved in a similar role to a new company?
No, I set my own business up.
Okay.
And ran Liquid Space for 8 years with a really good friend of mine called Mark. He was a designer. And that was great fun. We had an amazing time. It was really hard work, but we both, Mark and myself, have got a really strong work ethic. And, again, having been in a role, the account manager role, where you learn all the bases, you can sort of, it's a good starting block, for running your own company. Because again, you're sort of trying to understand, we do understand all the roles, if not in great detail, enough to manage people in that role, which I think is quite important. And Mark's a great designer. So we did really well for 8 years, and then the crash came along, and no one would pay us, and we couldn't pay our subcontractors, and we ended up wrapping it up, which was probably the hardest thing I've ever done.
Really?
Yeah, it was really tough.
So just to go back to the beginning of those 8 years, how did you come to the decision that you were going to start your own business? Because that's quite a big jump.
Yeah, I think it was the disappointing attitude of, just not being recognised, and maybe people thinking that it's okay to say these things about, like, I don't report because you're a woman. And I just, I'm not a true feminist, but, I'm really a big supporter of women and women in industry and women in my team. And, I just probably felt I've had enough working for men. I'm going to just go and do it for myself. With another man, but that's fine.
And had you worked with Mark before somewhere else?
Yes, we've been at TDA together.
Okay.
For 4 years, so we'd worked really well together and become great friends.
Yeah. And in those 8 years, did you employ people? What did the team look like?
Yeah, we ended up with a team of around 24.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was quite a big team.
It's a big team.
And we were really, like, running at it. We were doing really, really well. We just got to the point where, when it all crashed, and you couldn't go to the bank and say, actually, this client's not paying us, and we can't get the money and we can't pay them. We just came up against, like, this cash flow that we couldn't get over that hurdle. So yeah, it was really emotional.
So just talk me through closing the business and why it was so emotional.
I think, you put your heart and soul into these things. I mean, you run your own business, and it's not 9 to 5. I mean, you sort of live, eat, sleep, and all you do is think about it. And actually, I'm quite like that with my team now as well. So Thirdway split into 4 or 5 teams, and I feel that my team, I started that team up with a team of, was 5, including myself. So in a way, it's been a similar journey. So I do feel very passionate about it, and I do eat, sleep, breathe it. Maybe a bit too much sometimes, but that's
difficult
what we
not
do.
to, though. I think.
It is. Especially what we do, you have to be passionate, I think, about it.
Yeah.
So going back to setting up the business, it just grew organically. But it's, as you know, very competitive what we do. And when these big market changes happen, it's difficult to find new business when there isn't really. I mean, the world just stopped, basically. So it was just quite tough at the end.
Yeah. And the sort of logistics of having to close a business, and you still had a team at that stage, I suppose.
Yeah, so that's always very tough. But we've been quite open with people. We probably kept running for a year after the crash. So, I mean, I think everyone could see it was quite difficult. It's quite, in a small team like that, it's, you have to be open and honest with people. And we, and you sort of find out who your friends are as well, which adds to the emotional turmoil that's going on. So I think it was just sad in many ways, really, for the team, for Mark and I, for all the dreams, hopes.
You've said to me that there are no disasters, only opportunities. So from that, sadness and that emotional closing the business, what did you learn from that?
Well, I'm not great at looking backwards. So I'm not a huge reflector. I tend to wrap up anything that goes wrong, put it in a box, put it under the bed, and get it out every now and again. But other than that, is the way.
It's done.
So I just, I've always said, I think sometimes these sort of hard knocks maybe toughen you up. And it makes you, well, it can make you more determined.
Mm.
And it hasn't stopped me wanting to succeed. It sometimes, I think, gives me the drive to keep pushing.
Mm.
So I think, yeah, I don't really look back a lot.
No. Has there ever been a moment where you've considered walking away from the industry?
Mhm. Not completely. Um, I I really enjoy what I do. I love what I do. Um, my passion is, residential design as well. So I love doing houses. Um, so one day maybe that will be the retirement plan.
Yeah.
But at the moment, no. I think I'm here to stay,
Okay.
and I'm enjoying bringing the next generation through.
Are you?
Yeah, yeah. I get a lot of pleasure out of training people, and we've over the years, there's quite a few people that are not always all working with me now that, I've pulled up and through. And yeah, it gives me really good pleasure to see them.
Do you consider yourself a mentor?
I don't always think of myself as a mentor, but I do think I am mentoring people. And, uh, you know, I think I am a mentor. I just don't always think about it. But I would say that, quite a few people in my team would say that. And not just in my team. Thirdway, there's probably 160, 170 people. And other people from other teams do come and sort of grab me and say, can you help me with this? And I would just try and find the time to do that.
Yeah. What's the most surprising part of leadership for you?
Um, the emotional roller coaster that comes with it, I think. And it's not always easy. And there are sometimes difficult situations that you need to deal with. Not all the time, and it's few and far between. But I forget sometimes how emotional I am. Getting emotional now.
So you get emotional about them getting emotional, or what?
I don't know. I'm just really invested in them, and get quite frustrated if I feel that they're not doing the right thing.
Okay.
So, I'm not saying I sit and cry every night if someone's not performing. It's not what I do.
I'm
But if
pleased
I
to hear.
see someone struggling,
Yes.
like I feel it for them.
Okay. And how do you try and help?
Coffee's always a good thing.
Yeah.
Listening, sometimes telling them to listen. Um, but trying to understand what is putting them under too much pressure and where they are, and maybe it's it's nothing to do with work, and it's something outside of the workplace that's putting them in a difficult position at the moment. And I think hopefully my team can tell me anything and know it be confidential and know I will understand,
Yeah.
and then be able to help.
Yeah. Perfect. Who are the mentors or role models that have shaped your leadership style?
Oh, good question. My husband's quite good. If there's a difficult moment, or, you're not feeling great, he's like, always have a smile on your face. That's his big tip. Always have a smile on your face,
Yeah.
because everyone's watching your reaction in the room.
That's true.
So, but leadership styles, I don't really know. I think there's a blend of people that I've worked for over the years.
Yeah.
Um, that I've made my own sort of mantra. So,
Yeah.
Around training, I'm really keen on training, and that probably comes from Gordon. Um, so making sure people have access to the training if they want it. So we do quite a lot of external training as a team, and always offering that to someone. And then we do quite a lot of internal training as well. So it's quite a big thing at Thirdway to sort of try and give people what they need to grow in their career. And then someone, I think, once said to me, always be the last one in the room. So I try and be the last one in the office every day. And if there's someone working late, I tell them to go home.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, enough, today is over. So I always want to be there in the room with people.
Being present.
Yeah, I think it's important.
Who's the best person you've worked for?
Oh, I'm going to offend a few people.
Maybe give me some characteristics if you don't want to name names.
Yeah, I think, the team at Thirdway are very passionate. And I've worked for quite a few people who are really passionate about their businesses.
Yeah.
And I think that's really something that I've taken on board, that passion for, and being proud of what we do. So I would say, I've already mentioned Gordon a couple of times. James was brilliant when I first came into the industry, really kind and giving. And, Ben, who I work for now, is, he's a yellow, so he's not a red. So sometimes we have our moments. Yeah. Well, he denies being a red. So, But he's a very creative, big picture person and encourages the team, I suppose, the leadership team, to think big. And that helps me because I think sometimes I get too much into the weeds because I'm quite a practical person, quite organised. I don't give myself time sometimes to stare into space.
Okay.
So we get encouraged a lot as a business to do that, which is good.
So you've got this sort of project management organisational side, and you mentioned that design side earlier on. When does the balance really matter on a project?
I think the balance, I suppose the key really is pulling it all together. So it's understanding the design intent and the buildability and giving everyone in the team, in that project team, the capacity to try and develop their ideas. And I'm always dreaming big. So if someone's got a big idea and somebody else in the room is saying, well, I don't think we can do that, I'm always like, they put a man on the moon.
Yeah.
They've just built this bridge. Have you seen what they've built in LA or wherever?
Yes.
So, I'm always trying to dream with that person as well, trying to dream. And we've just won this amazing project at the moment where it's for a jet company.
Yeah.
And, we're going to design, the wing of the actual jet we've scaled down, but it's still at scale as their reception desk. And it's going to be really complicated to build.
Yeah.
But again, there's people saying, oh, well, I don't think you can do that.
There is a solution.
Yeah,
we'll find
we can do it.
Okay. So design and build industry is known for its pace and its pressure. What do you think still needs to change in the culture of the industry?
I think that the culture of the industry has got a lot better. It is a very pacey environment. And I think that most of the companies that I compete with have all professionalised and become better companies over the year. The industry has really grown in the last 25 years. I mean, it's changed enormously. It is very competitive, and we do put a huge amount of work and money and time into our proposal documents and our tenders. And I still feel that sometimes that's not wholly appreciated by the clients that we put these amazing documents together for. So I think a little bit of raising of the profile of the energy and the passion and all of those things is quite an emotional job, I think. For most of the team, they put so much into it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's not taken into consideration.
And to be in a situation where you've got a only usually 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 chance of winning it is just, when you put it like that, it's pretty brutal, isn't it?
It's really brutal. And, normally after the pitch, people are on a high. And then you sort of find out a few days later normally, and then if you haven't won it, people like hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
So big part of my role is just picking people up, dusting them off and say, we can be miserable today, but tomorrow's another day.
Yeah, move on.
And there's another project.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think understanding that like emotion is key going forward, I think.
Okay. If you could reshape one thing tomorrow, what would it be?
Visualization. I think that could be sped up. I think we can look at AI a lot more to speed that process up.
Yeah.
Takes too long.
Yeah, it's got to be a way, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So you're known for your negotiation and value engineering skills. Can you talk me through that?
Well, I think negotiation is about knowing your value, isn't it? So try not to undersell yourself and add value in different ways rather than, being the less expensive person in the room.
Yeah.
Which is what we always try and do as a team. We become very consultative. We want to bring more to the party. I always want to bring, especially my landlord clients, my property knowledge, my understanding of what they're trying to do with the asset, who they're trying to attract to the property, and all those sorts of things. So, so that's my negotiating skill, really, just to be knowledgeable. And then the value engineering is, really working with the client and the project management team and our designers to make sure we're spending money in the right places and on the right type of product, not project. So we're always looking at products, and obviously sustainability is really key at the moment. So again, having that in our sort of armour to be able to talk about that knowledgeably is really important for I'd say all of our clients.
Would you say you're ambitious?
Yes.
Okay. And has ambition shaped the doors that you've walked through or the ones you've chosen not to?
Definitely. I think you have to have courage. You have to hold your head up. You have to feel good about yourself. And if you have a clear direction, I think you can get there. You might not get to the pinnacle, but you can get somewhere along that line. So just have faith in yourself, I think.
What are you a beginner at right now?
Gardening.
Oh.
Okay. Well, not very good. I'm good at knowing what I like.
Okay.
And making things look good, but I have no idea, really. I'd like to be able to design a really nice bed, with all the layers. So maybe that's something I might have a look at in the next few years.
Okay.
If I find time.
Looking back over your career, what achievement or moment are you proudest of?
I suppose being in the position that I'm in today. I know that sounds a bit she's got to say that. But, outside of having my own company, which is quite a few years ago now, so that was like, 20 odd years ago, I feel that like where I am today is a really good place to be. I feel that we always try and do the right thing. It's one of our mantras. But we want the industry to grow. We want people to grow. We want to have a legacy. I want to have a legacy in the industry.
What do you want your legacy to be?
I want my legacy to be that I've trained up an amazing amount of people that go on to grow the industry when I'm gone.
Yeah, amazing. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given, and how has it stayed with you?
The best piece of advice I've ever been given is don't stop learning. Like, just keep reading around the subject. Keep your eyes open, look up, look out is the best piece of advice.
If you could sit with your younger self, what message would you give her?
To have been probably more ambitious at a younger age.
Sounds like you're quite ambitious.
Yeah, I think I floated for a while.
Did you?
Yeah, maybe in my 30s.
Okay.
Yeah, I floated a bit, I think.
Okay,
But I had a good time.
And then what changed? What changed in your 30s that put you back on track?
I don't know. I suppose you just grow up and you realise that you get to 40 and you're middle-aged, and it's like, gosh.
Absolutely refuse to believe that 40 is middle-aged, Trish. It's
maybe it's
outrageous.
50 now. But yeah, gosh, I mean, you just think, life's moving at a pace now. So, and also I actually feel that you're, like, for me personally, I was more focused in my 40s than in my 30s. I think in my 30s I was having a really good time, doing amazing things, travelling. But it was in my 40s and my verve for my career my attitude to life. I just became really focused and still feel like full of energy today.
Was there something that happened that made you focused, do you think, in your 40s?
No, I don't know. Nothing I can put my finger on at all, but everything came into a good place, I think.
So as you know, podcast is called Places She Shapes. So I've got 3 terrible questions that are to do with places, she and shapes. So places, you're in a room with everyone you've ever met, dead or alive, excluding your immediate family. Who would you look for first? Who are you looking for?
Who am I looking for?
Yeah.
And they're people that I know. They're not.
Yeah, you've met them.
I've met them.
Yeah.
I've met them. Oh.
So maybe a teacher or an old school friend or an old mentor, something like that.
Yeah. Maybe a couple of old school friends. Yeah. And also I always look for Gordon, and I've got a really good friend called Simon at the moment, who if he was in the room, I'd probably make a beeline for as well.
Yeah, amazing. So the she question, who's the woman you turn to for advice and why?
I turn to my friend, actually, I turn to 2 people, and one of them is my stepdaughter. She's brilliant, and she's only 25, but she's an amazing woman already. And she's really good from advice because she looks at it from a completely different point of view.
That's good.
Yeah.
Does she work in a similar industry or?
She's in my team.
Oh.
She's in my team, and we work really well together, and I'm training her up to be like the best project director there's ever been.
Amazing.
And she will be. And she's hugely ambitious.
But she's got a slightly different angle on,
I just
on looking at
think,
things.
being younger, she has a different view, which I don't get sometimes if I'm speaking to someone who's a similar age, which I quite like.
Yeah.
And then the other person I talk to is a really good friend of mine who's completely different, has no interest in a career, would happily sit at home. But she's good because, again, it's a completely different point of view.
Yeah. You mentioned your husband earlier. Does he work in the property and construction industry or something?
No, he doesn't. And he was one of my clients.
Oh, really?
So, no, he doesn't work in the industry at all, but we've been married over 20 years, and he knows the industry really well. So I do use him as a bit of a non-exec,
So
unpaid.
he knows enough, but not too much kind of situation?
No, I think he knows enough about the industry.
Okay.
But again, not being in the industry, he sort of comes at it from a slightly different angle, which I quite like.
Yeah.
And, on a monthly basis, I'm going to a board meeting or writing a board report or doing something else. So we do a thing called scale up in the business as well. And he's always really good to bounce off. He's quite an ideas man.
Yeah.
Which is good. He's a yellow.
You need those people.
You do.
And then my shapes question, how do you shape your ideal day? What would your ideal day look like?
My ideal day is a work day. If I'm doing a work day, would be coffee, bit of news, emails, and then straight to the office and into the design, really. I love the design aspect of what we do, and drive the whole team mad, but that would be my ideal day, just
So you're meddling
a bit in design. Yeah.
And a non-work day?
Non-work day, a bit of a lazy morning. Normally, if you're doing a Saturday, watching a cookery programme of some sort, and maybe getting out for a walk and having people down. So I do sort of run a guest house, so I have a lot of people to stay. So I really enjoy hosting people.
Nice. Are you a cook?
I'm not a bad cook. Yeah, I don't cook Monday to Friday. Weekends my cooking, but then I like to cook something a little bit tricky.
Amazing. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Trish.
No, thank you so much. It's been great.
Brilliant.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the Places She Shapes podcast here on YouTube and leave a like on the video if you've enjoyed it.
Okay, let's take it from the top.